everybody, Rosematter here, and welcome to part 15 of my Umineko Let's Play. In the last episode, I wasn't expecting this, but Beatrice actually showed up, like, in person, making herself visible to multiple people, which is the complete opposite of what happened in the first episode. And she gave a note to Maria and Rosa this time. So that means that the dinner is going to be most likely happening this episode, and I'm very interested to see like how it's going to go this time with her, with Beatrice like just walking around. I imagine maybe she's going to actually show up at the dinner this time, but either way we know that murder will be happening soon, which has got me excited, so we're going to get back into it and see what happens next.
Maria, 今日のお昼にお外で私たち会ったわよね。女の人に。あれは誰？
何度も言ってる。ベアトリーチェ。
マリアは以前にベアトリーチェと会ったことがあるの？
毎年会ってる。
Oh shit, she sees her every year. So yeah, once again, like, it's strange that she made her appearance this year, where it's like she seemed to keep herself hidden to just Maria, but now she just doesn't seem to care who sees her.
毎年？この六軒島のお屋敷で？じゃわからないでしょ。そうなの？いつから会ってるの？何年前から？
It must be nice for Maria to have someone who actually believes her, someone who physically saw her as well.
わかんない。
わからない？どうして？去年？一昨年？
もっと前から。
Rosa was aghast. Only the Ushiromiya mansion existed on this island. So there was no way that there were any other humans other than themselves on the island. And yet, Maria said she had been meeting with that suspicious woman every year during the family conference. If what Maria said was the truth, then that strange woman called Beatrice had been at the family conference every year. That's insane. Is she saying that some eerie woman was at the family conference every year and none of us ever noticed it? Even though Rosa had just met her herself a couple of hours ago in the Rose Garden, she was overcome with a strange emotion which told her not to accept her existence. What in the world did I meet with earlier today in the Rose Garden, as the typhoon grew close and the winds blew strong?
Maria, あなたは毎年彼女と会ってると言ったわね。会って何をしてるの？
お歌を歌ったり、魔法を習ったり、魔法陣の書き方も習うの。
Oh, learn how to draw magic circles. Well, I mean, I know that Maria, she drew them in her journal, but I'm like, I doubt Maria was the one who drew the circles on all of the doors before. So the only people who would know how to draw magic circles, I'd assume, would be Kinzo, Maria, and Beatrice.
そう。それはすごいわね。マリアがよく自由帳に落書きじゃない魔法陣を書いたりしてるわよね。
Maria's probably so happy to have her mom like finally accept this.
それも彼女に教えてもらったの。
ベアトリーチェにね、お手本書いてもらうの。ほらほら、見て見て。
Maria joyfully fished around in her handbag. Then she took out a notebook and started opening its pages. Most of the pages were covered with drawings that were literally scribbles. All of them were occult-like things. And while it might sound rude to Maria, who was joyfully flipping through the pages, they were all creepy.
ほらこれ、ベアトリーチェが書いてくれた。
On each page Maria opened to, there was another eerie magic circle that had been drawn. And that's the scorpion, that's the one that's on the doorknob, right, of Kinzo's study. Furthermore, at a glance, Rosa realized that Maria hadn't drawn them. The strength of the strokes, the thickness of the lines, how clean the shape was. This by itself wasn't enough to guess the background of the person who had drawn it. But it was enough for Rosa to understand it was definitely someone older than Maria. Okay, so Maria, the theory that Maria somehow drew those magic circles on the door is what been wiped out. Rosa had to accept it now. There really was a person on this Rokanjima who she hadn't even known existed. And this person had been playing with Maria during the family conference every year.
マリア、その魔女のベアトリーチェはここに住んでいるの？それとも私たちのように島の外に住んでいるの？
おう、ベアトリーチェはロッケン島の魔女だからこの島に住んでる。
じゃあ親族会議のない日にもこの島にいるというのね。
おう、
ふうじゃわからないでしょ。どうなの？
おう。
Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I can't believe it, I can't believe it. You know she can't tell the other siblings, they're gonna think she's crazy. How long has this unknown witch been living on this island? I used to live on this island. I lived on this island, passing the time in the mansion, in the rose garden. And even so, I never encountered a witch like that. Never. I think.
Mama? Mama? どうしたの? Mama?
Maybe that's the reason Natsui has headaches, is maybe when there's the presence of Beatrice nearby, maybe it makes, like, humans. Most humans have headaches. I was probably getting a little mixed up with my memories from when I was a young girl. I mean, she could just be having a headache because she's just trying to accept all this stuff and her brain won't let her, but I mean, Natsui's headaches, it's like maybe that's Beatrice might be the cause. Maybe have some magic being around might cause, like, physical reactions in people. When I was a young girl, unlike Maria, I was very frightened of witches. So for me, the name Beatrice was a synonym for something frightening. So it must be my feeling of fear from my days as a young girl has been revived because a woman calling herself that has appeared. She couldn't be a witch. She's obviously a human calling herself Beatrice, right? Oh, yes. That witch entrusted me with an envelope. What in the world could that be? Rosa pulled that western envelope out of her pocket. It was the western envelope which bore the Ushiromiya crest which Kinzo used on his personal letters. And it had even been sealed with the red sealing wax by the head's ring which Kinzo held, which meant this envelope belonged to the Ushiromiya head. In other words, it was from father. Why was a woman calling herself Beatrice holding it, and why did she give it to me? That's right. I'm sure she said to read this out loud at dinner. What in the world could be written inside? Anxiety gripped Rosa, as if opening this letter might release some kind of monumental disaster. Well, she's not wrong. However, oh no, I feel like Rosa might be the first to die because she's going against Beatrice's wishes if she looks at the envelope early. However, at the same time, a little curiosity sprouted up, causing her to want to find out what was written inside before the other siblings. Using common sense, one could guess that a huge decision somehow related to father's inheritance was probably written inside. Actually, since he had given it to a woman calling herself Beatrice, there was no way that wasn't related. Did this mean he wanted the inheritance split not between 4, but between 5, including her? I need a large sum of money, and I can't wait long. I do feel like a sinful daughter for discussing the distribution of father's inheritance while he's still alive. However, I'm no longer at a stage where I can afford to keep everything pretty. And I'm even consulting with Rudolf Nissan and Ava Nissan in order to get some money out of Kraus Nissan. With myself in the situation, I can't help but sense something ominous in the appearance of the witch. What could be written in here? I'm sure there must be something frightening written. Shall I first read it secretly myself? Uh-oh. Bad idea, bad idea. I imagine Beatrice's gonna pop up out of nowhere and be like, I know what you're gonna do, don't do it. The witch had requested it be done at the dinner table when everyone was gathered. If she does it, I feel like she sealed her fate. However, in that case, couldn't she just read it aloud at the dinner table herself? Why did she go to all the trouble of entrusting it to me? Did that mean basically that it didn't matter whether I secretly read it beforehand? Uh-oh. It would be better to secretly read the contents first. Oh, this music, though. This is creepy. I understand it would be breaking my promise. But this is no longer the time to keep things pretty. It would probably be too good to discuss it with Ava Nissan and Rudolph Nissan, depending on the contents. Nissan and the rest are always really good thinkers when it comes to this kind of thing. As I gulped and put my hand to the red sealing wax, something suddenly pulled on my sleeve, and I let out a small shriek. Oh, Maria's probably going to be like, don't do it.
何マリアなの
She might have just saved you from... I mean, you're going to die anyway, but she might have just saved you, or at least delayed your time.
驚かせないで何
ダメ。
Maria was making the same ominous expression Rosa had seen on the witch, sending a tingle up her spine.
ベアトリーチェはママに、その手紙は晩餐で読みなさいって言った。魔女の約束は破っちゃダメだよ。
違うわよ
If my kid laughed at me like that and gave me that a look like that, I would be like, I will do whatever you say. Please don't hurt me.
ちょっと封筒を見ただけじゃない約束は守るわよママもいつもマリアに約束は守りなさいって言ってるもんねママももちろん約束は守るわよ
ママはいい子。
その笑い方可愛くないからやめなさい
おー。
そういえばマリアも封筒をもらったわよね中には何て書いてあったの
開けてない。ベアトリーチェは開ける時が来るまで開けちゃダメって言った。だから大事に持ってる。
そうマリアはベアトリーチェの言うことはちゃんと聞くのね
Rose is like, why can't you listen to me the same way you listen to Beatrice?
マリアはベアトリーチェの弟子だから、お師匠の言うことはちゃんと聞くの。
そう
Rosa realized something. Mixed in with Maria's gaze was the light of a person other than Maria. If she broke the rules and opened the letter here, Beatrice would definitely find out about it. Because Maria was the witch's disciple. Maria communicated with the witch.
ママは約束を守るわだから安心するようベアトリーチェに言ってね
伝える。
ねえマリアベアトリーチェとお話をしたいんだけどどうすれば会えるのかしら
知らない。ベアトリーチェはとても気まぐれだから、いつも突然姿を現すの。マリアからは会う方法を知らない。でもね、いつもマリアのことを見てるの。だからマリアが困っていると、後できっと助けてくれるの。きっとね、姿を消して、マリアの近くに隠れてるんだよ。
Also, maybe a hint, Rosa, don't hit your kid when the witch is around.
その笑いをやめなさいといつも言ってるでしょ
Oh, well, and then she... Oh, good job, and you did it right in front of the portrait. That's, like, sacrilege. Rosa reflexively hit Maria on the head. That put a stop to Maria's laughing voice, but it wasn't able to erase the ominous color that had risen to her eyes. Rosa made a pact with herself. She swore that at least until they left this island, she would not leave Maria alone. She couldn't allow an unknown being to make direct contact with her daughter anymore. Okay, I doubt this is going to be it, because Maria, I think, she's got to be the one to make it to the end, because she has all of this information. But, you know, the two who are close, right? Maybe with the fact that Rosa is going to try and stay with her all the time. Unless Rosa is one of, like, you know, in the first night to die, then, well, she can't do that anymore, can she? Also, I apologize if you can hear some buzzing in the background. Of course, when I'm trying to record, they're doing construction on a nearby apartment, so if you... I apologize for that.
またローザおばさんに叱られてるのかな。
Ever since they had met Maria in the airport, she'd constantly been making a huge fuss about Halloween. But it seemed she had cut loose a little too much and acted a little too boisterous on the plane, on the boat, and during lunch because Rosa had warned her several times. In times like that, Auntie Rosa would rarely scold her in front of people. More commonly, she would call Maria into the shadows and scold her when they were alone. So since Maria had been called off somewhere, they thought she must be getting scolded. When they looked at the clock, they realized it was almost 6. They really couldn't imagine that Maria had been being scolded this whole time. Perhaps it had come time for some anime she watched every week to start or something. She had probably just decided to stay in the mansion's parlor.
ひょっとするとバトラ様がお目覚めになって一緒に遊ばれているのかもしれませんね。
It's funny, yeah, in this episode, Battler is just kind of hanging in the background. Like, we haven't taken control of him once, I think, or like from his point of view. He's almost like not the leading character anymore.
マリアちゃんにとってバトラ君は新しい友達のような感じだったろうからね。そのバトラ君と飛行場でハロウィンごっこをするのがきっととても楽しかったんだよ。
バトラもずいぶんはしゃいでたな。あいつ図体はでかくなったってのに中身は昔から全然変わらねえぜ。
そうですね。バトラ様は6年前のままでいてくださった気がします。
シャノンは6年前のバトラ君のこと覚えてるんだ。
ええ、何しろ大層お元気な方でしたから。
僕も6年前に4人で遊んだことを思い出すよ。シャノンはだいぶお姉さん風だったね。
そうだな。今よりしっかりしてた気がするぜ。
それはあの頃は身の程わきまえておりませんでしたもので、いろいろと失礼いたしました。
いいよ、そんな礼儀云々は。仕事中はともかく、こうして休み時間に過ごす時の僕らはあの頃から変わらない仲良しで居続けたいね。
そうだぜ。使用人のシャノンとオフの時の作用は使い分けていいだろう。
Yeah, just like Jessica, and she was trying to do that with Ken, and that didn't work out very well, to try and separate your work life from, your personal life.
奴隷じゃないんだぜ。使用人の仕事をしてるだけじゃないかよ。私はシャノンとは、サヨとは一番古い友人だと思ってるぜ。
ありがとうございます。お嬢さん。
It seemed that Shannon understood what lurked under Jessica's words, because she had heard a little bit from Jessica and Cannon about what had happened between them. Apparently, George had also been informed about that, more or less. George approached the window and looked up at the darkening, rainy sky.
カノン君はまだ幼いのに考え方が少し背伸びしてるところがあると思うんです。
いや、もうよしてくれよ。まあ私も雰囲気に流されてたところはあったと思うしさ。まあシャノンたちのことを見てちょっと羨ましいとか思って気がせいていたところもあったかもしれねえな。私のことなんかどうでもいいだろ。それよりジョージ兄さんたちの方はどういう感じなんだよ。だいぶいい感じなんだろう。
どうなんでしょう。
Who knows, maybe this time it'll be Shannon and George who are the two who are close who will be killed together.
とてもいい感じだよ。
Oh, that was where Shannon's like, I wonder, like, do you not know how things are going? Shannon was lost for words, her face red, while George answered brightly and immediately. That carefree attitude made it obvious that the relationship was proceeding so perfectly it would make anyone envious. And that's what Beatrice wants, so that she can tear them apart.
やけるぜ。ってことはシャノンもそのうち寿退社ってわけなんだ。
どうなんでしょう。私には
どうなんだろうね。僕にもわからないね。
George laughed like he was being mean and drew closer to Shannon. It was probably the way they usually flirted when they were alone. Jessica could only smile awkwardly and say, "Yes, yes, thank you, that's enough."
僕には夢がある。それは一国一城の主になりたいというビジネス的な野望だけじゃない。生涯を共にできる伴侶と幸せな家族を築きたいという夢もある。子供は最低でも2人欲しいとか、家族で一緒にできるスポーツをしたいねとか。
Damn, he's like mapped it all out. And here's the thing, people, were kind of getting, they were offering their opinions about the relationship between George and Shannon, about like how I was ragging on the age difference, which in my opinion is still iffy. I'll say iffy. But it's also more the power play, the power struggle. Like, George obviously has power over her as an Ushiromiya, relative, and there's a power imbalance going on where she is a servant. So I know she's happy with him, but like underlying that, there is that power imbalance, and he could definitely be taking advantage of that, knowing that she can't really say no. Even though he goes on about how, like, oh, she's got free will to do what she wants, but I think maybe deep down he's taking advantage of the fact that she is a servant a little bit, but yeah, so I don't know, the relationship, like, at first I'm like, oh my god, they're so cute, but there definitely is some problematic issues to it.
他にもいろいろ。そんな話をよくシャノンとはするよ。こんなことを話すと、いつもシャノンには気が早いですねと笑われるんだけど、僕はこの年のうちからもうなぜか落ち着いた老後のことを考えてしまうんだよ。元気に成長した子供たちと駆け回る孫たちと。
I was gonna say, have you even asked Shannon if she wants kids?
そういうものに囲まれて、いつまでもシャノンと二人ゆっくりと余生を送れたらなって。
そりゃ確かに気の早い話だぜ。でもなんていうのか、そのジョージ兄さんらしい話だな。
そんな家族に囲まれたらさぞ素敵でしょうね。私が思い描いていた理想の家族もそんな感じだったと思います。
To Shannon, who had been raised in a welfare institute, that harmonious image of a family was probably something she yearned after. And George, who promised that he would definitely grant that wish for her, was surely a fitting person for her to spend her life with. Shannon was an important friend to Jessica. George was surely the one most fit to entrust that friend's future to.
まあ水を差すわけじゃねえけど、秀吉おじさんはともかくエヴァおばさんとかどうなわけ？
Yeah, good question.
説得は大変じゃないの？
And George has no idea about what Ava said to Shannon at the beginning.
そんなことは誰も気にする必要はないよ。僕が誰を伴侶に選ぶかは誰にもはばかられない。
Who knows? Maybe, maybe in the first chapter, maybe Ava was the one who killed Shannon. My theory was that Shannon was, like, secretly still alive, but maybe she did get killed, and maybe it was Ava, like, she knew something was going on, so she figured, like, I'll take out the siblings, because that, then I don't have any competition for the inheritance, and then I'll take out Shannon, so that George, can find a more suitable partner. And maybe Hideyoshi was in on it, too. I can't see Hideyoshi doing something like that, but who knows.
シャノンは僕が幸せにする。それに誰の許可が？
おお、ジョージ兄さんかっこいいぜ。よくそんな恥ずかしいセリフを堂々と。昔の兄さんはそういうキャラじゃなかったと思ったんだけどな。
男子3日合わざれば刮目して待つべしさ。僕だって成長する。シャノンを幸せにするために僕はもっともっと勉強してふさわしい男に成長するつもりだよ。
It seemed that perhaps George had some kind of awareness of how embarrassing the words coming out of his mouth were. His face turned very slightly red, and he scratched his head.
ジョージさん。
大丈夫。母さんは確かにごねるかもしれないけど、 僕に任せておけばいい。親族全員に君が僕の伴侶だと認めさせてみせる。
すっげえな。シャノンが羨ましいぜ、まったく。
そこまで言ってもらえて、恐縮です。
っていうかよ、私はお邪魔虫なんじゃないかって気がしてきたぜ。席を外した方がいいか？
Smiling awkwardly, Jessica stood up from the bed she had been sitting on, and at that very moment, the phone rang. Before Jessica picked up the receiver, wondering what they wanted, Shannon looked at the clock and was taken aback. It seemed she has taken too long on her break.
すみません。私、お勤めの時間を忘れておりました。これで失礼します。
At the same time Jessica picked up the phone, Shannon began dashing out of the room.
シャノン、またいつもの時間にいつもの場所で。
はい。失礼します。
もしもし、ジェシカです。ああ、ゲンジさん。はい。シャノンは今そっちに戻ってますよ。私たちが引き止めちゃったんです。叱らないでやってください。ええ。はい。
そっか。もうじき夕飯の準備
Oh,
の時
here
間なん
comes
だ
the
ね。
dinner. This is what I've been waiting for. I think Beatrice is going to make her grand appearance at the dinner this time. Many plates were lined up on the counter in the kitchen, and preparations for dinner were proceeding steadily. The number of plates that were lined up there was 19. Ooh, 19. That number was one more than were lined up during the family conference every year. Okay, so it's like, unlike last time, we assume, it was 18 and now 19. Obviously, the servants do know about Beatrice. Obviously. I just love how different it is this time, where it's like she was skulking in the shadows last episode, and this one she's front and center.
どうして私が直接お届けに上がってはならないのですか。
Goda-san was flaring up at Genji, paying no heed to the pot that was boiling over. The master enjoys having his food alone in his study, so the food must be set out in the study. Of course, this is nothing new, you understand. Goda-san would really like to set the table for the master with his own hands, as he puts his heart and soul into his cooking. And I'm sure every chapter, poor Goda, like nobody really enjoys his food because the atmosphere is ruined by the letter. But the master had imposed a strict rule that none but the servants bearing the crest of the Golden Eagle could enter his study. So while Goda-san could greet the master from outside the study, not once had he been granted the honor of carrying his cooking into the study. Goda-san was always unsatisfied with this. Of course he knows he's a newcomer in terms of years of service. However, he has accumulated plenty of experience from his previous jobs, and he's strongly confident he would be able to conduct himself properly, even in front of Kinzo, in a way that would not insult him. And yet, just because he's not permitted the Golden Eagle, he still hasn't been blessed with this honor.
それが彼のプライドをどれほど傷つけていたか想像できるでしょうか。では今夜も再びそれを蒸し返しているのかというとそうではありません。
And Kuma-san was so strange the way she just speaks directly to the audience, almost.
今夜は親方様の他にもお部屋まで食事を運んでもらいたいという方がおられるからです。その人物は非常に稀な賓客らしく、当主である親方様と同格の扱いをするようにきつく厳命されておりました。郷田さんはこの賓客にぜひ自らの手で配膳してポイントを稼ぎたかったに違いありません。虚栄心のお強い方でございますから、親方様に配膳する資格はなくてもせめてそれと同格の来客には昼食はどうしても手が開かずカノンさんに言ってもらった。だから一年で最高の晩餐である今夜の食事をぜひ自分の手で配膳したかったのです。ですがそれを源氏さんに咎められたのでございます。郷田さんに片翼の足がないからということのようです。再び資格がないと咎められ、 合田さんの堪忍袋の緒が切れてしまったのでございます。おいたわしや合田さん。私は物陰からこうして見守るしかないのでござ
She
いま
always
す。
says that too. She's like, I can't do anything but watch from the shadows. She's just so kind of creepy.
熊沢さん、油を売っている暇があったら食堂の準備をしてきてください。テーブルクロスは大丈夫ですか？
これは失礼を。
When it became her turn to bear the brunt, Kumasawa softly disappeared into the hall.
ベアトリーチェ様は親方様と全く同格のお方です。ルールも親方様のそれと同じものを尊ばなくてはならん。合田は自分の仕事に専念し、親族の皆さんのお相手をするように。
そのようなお客様相手に源氏さんならともかくこんな子供を生かせていいのですか？もし何かの粗相があったら失礼にあたります。確かに彼らの年季は長いですが、しかるべきところで修行をしたことがあるわけじゃない。正直に申し上げてお客様に接する基礎ができていないのです。
Goda spoke bluntly, even though Shannon was waiting right there in the kitchen. Shannon was the one who Genji had ordered to carry the food to Beatrice's room. By the ranking system among the servants permitted the Golden Eagle, Shannon was indeed the second highest ranked. Oh, I'm sure Beatrice wants to talk to her about how George and her relationship is going before she drops the hammer that she's gonna, destroy it. The highest ranking Genji went to set the room in Kinzo's room. Then it fell to Shannon to set the table in Beatrice's room. Goda's pride was always horribly injured when he was confronted with his ranking system. In times like that, he would speak out bluntly and rudely about Shannon and Kennen. Goda kept raising example after example of Shannon's past failures, making a ruckus about how this was wrong and that was wrong. As Shannon listened to this with her head hung in shame, she heard Kennen's voice from behind her. Kennen had been listening from a blind spot, leaning against the hallway side of the wall near the entrance to the kitchen. He probably knew if he entered the kitchen, sparks would start to fly his way.
言わせておきなよ。最低の男だ。
Yeah, he's one of the ones I really don't mind getting killed off.
でも接待の基礎の勉強になるし、合田さんはたくさん勉強してるからとても参考に。
姉さんは優しいね。
それより貴賓室のお客様がベアトリーチェ様だというのは本当なの？
うん、就職の配膳に行かされた時にあった。間違いなくあいつだったよ。
そうお元気そうだった？
Kennen remembered that he and Shannon had different impressions of Beatrice. To Shannon, Beatrice was a cupid of love who had granted her magic to create her relationship with George, and Kennen knows the truth about what her true intentions are. Judging by her happy expression, it looked like she couldn't wait to inform Beatrice of how her relationship with George had progressed. However, Kennen already knew. The witch had come here with a terrifying goal in mind. That vague witch, in the past only visible to them, had now walked in openly through the front door, and had revived enough that they could now carry food to her. In the past, when she had disappeared from in front of Kennen, the witch had said something about how her own power was still weak. Now that the witch could appear openly like this, did that mean she had finally returned to her former power? Okay, so I'm wondering if maybe, with each loop, maybe her power gets stronger? So the first one, she was weak, so she couldn't physically appear in front of people. But now, with the second one, does each successful, loop, I guess, each time she wins, does she get a little bit stronger and get her powers back? I'm wondering about that. Which is scary, because I'm like, she's going to be like a final boss who gets, stronger and stronger each loop until she becomes almost unstoppable. And she had said clearly she had sown the seeds of love with the knowledge it would fail. She had said clearly that the day had finally come when the door to the Golden Land would be opened.
シャノン、あいつは親方様と何かの怪しげな儀式をし、きっとそれには誰も抗えない。
何の話なの？
あいつはやってきたんだ。親方様が求めた黄金鏡の扉を開き、全てを黄金鏡に戻すために。あいつは僕に確かにそう言った。
In the past, the two of them, as furniture working for Kinzo, had been told what the opening of the door to the Golden Land meant. Therefore, even without asking a single question in response, Shannon understood everything. So she grew deeply hopeless. Something tore at Cannon's heart as he saw her expression twist with grief.
そうだ。どうして今になって。
だから言ったんだ。僕らは家具だって。人間の真似事なんかして恋なんかするから。僕たちの役目の終わるこの日を素直に受け入れられない。
いつかこの日が訪れることをかつては願ってた。でもいつまで経っても訪れなくて、私たちはいつまで家具として苦しめばいいのかわからなくて。だから私思ったの。安息の日なんて永遠に訪れないんだって。
僕だってそう思ってたさ。でも必ずいつか訪れるって僕は信じてた。だから僕は家具としての自覚を忘れなかったんだ。なのに姉さんは忘れた。
私が悪いのね。私が。
ああ、
Damn.
姉さんが悪い。姉さんさえ恋を覚えなかったら、僕たちはようやく訪れた今日を喜び合うはずだった。姉さんがくだらない未練を作ってしまったんだ。必ず去らなければならない世界なのに。
儀式は。
And I'm trying to remember from the first chapter, like, did they know that the ritual was... I think they did. But Shannon, she wasn't... Or at least we didn't see her be like this, you know, like, not really accepting her. Or did it catch them all off guard, the fact that the ritual was happening that night? I can't remember.
あと、あいつ
Oh
は
man,
僕に言った。
he's like, if we're all gonna die, I might as well tell you everything.
今夜、ジョージ様は姉さんに婚約指輪を贈るだろうって。
So yeah, I wonder, like, the first chapter, did she know this already? And, or was it a surprise to her when she got the ring? That was a fact. George should have snuck in an engagement ring in his pocket today. And surely he would hand it over tonight.
あいつは姉さんとジョージ様を
Oh, so they are going to be the second
使う
Twilight.
つもりで
The two
二
who
人
are
の仲を
close.
くっつけたんだ。わかる。姉さんはあいつにそそのかされた上、
Wow, so she's going to go in
利
knowing
用されたんだよ。
exactly when she's going to die.
そうだったの。考えたこともなかったわ。
でもあいつは言ったよ。もし今夜その婚約指輪を受け取らなかったなら、姉さんを生贄に選ばないと約束した。僕たちが揃って黄金鏡へ行ける確率はとても低いと思う。
Oh, this will be interesting. So if she doesn't accept the engagement ring, things are going to happen slightly differently from the first chapter, and we'll see what changes.
13人が生贄になる。生き残るのは5人だけ。その中に僕たち2人が入れる確率は本当に低い。でも姉さんだけでもその約束が得られるなら確率はもっと上がる。
But the problem is, like, the last chapter, didn't everybody die because they didn't solve the mystery? They said the thing, like, everyone will die and go to the Golden Land and be revived and something or other.
僕はかけたいんだ。黄金鏡には救いがある。僕たちはそこへたどり着き、人間を手に入れるんだ。そして姉さんと2人で人間としての人生を歩みたいんだよ。そうすれば本当の恋だってできるかもしれない。
かつての私たちは黄金鏡へ行けることを夢見てたね。そこへ行けばどんな願いでも叶う。私たちをこの苦しみから救ってくれる。そう信じてた。
However, in this ritual, only a few people chosen by fate and chance would be invited to the Golden Land. Everyone else would lose their life as a sacrifice midway through the ceremony. But in the past, Shannon and Cannon had thought that whether they reached the Golden Land or were made sacrifices, it would all be the same because they would be released from their duties as furnitures either way. So in short, the ritual had been something that would definitely grant release to furniture like them.
僕は嫌だ。これまでの辛かった分を姉さんと取り戻したい。生贄なんてごめんだ。僕と姉さんは生き残る。そして二人で黄金鏡へたどり着く。だから姉さんを第二の番の生贄になんかさせない。頼むよ姉さん。あの男の指輪を受け取らないで。それを受け取らなければあいつは姉さんを生贄には選ばないと約束してくれた。
それは
Oh shit.
できないよ。今夜の指輪はとても特別なもの。それを受け取らないことは私の心が許さない。
So maybe they'll die exactly the same way. That'd be kind of boring. I hate to say it, but I'm like, I want some different deaths and different what's the word I'm thinking of, like different orders and everything.
姉さん、儀式の生贄は魔女が気まぐれに決めることになってる。その魔女が姉さんだけは見逃すと約束してくれたんだよ。姉さんだけは絶対に黄金鏡へ行けるんだ。
私だけ？カノン君は？
僕は魔女のゲームで十分さ。あいつの魔女なんかかいくぐってやる。僕は無力じゃない。わずかの確率を無理やり掴み取ってやる。
Well, you attempted to do that the first time, and unfortunately it didn't work out so well for you. If you actually died, which I still have questions about.
僕たちのせいなんて所詮は仮初めじゃないか。本当の人生を始めるために僕たちは黄金鏡へたどり着こう。そして人間を手に入れよう。そうしたらさ、僕も姉さんみたいに恋が知れるかな。もう家具だからって人を泣かせずに済むかな。
カノン君。
僕はもう家具は嫌だ。絶対に人間になってやる。こんな苦しみから絶対に。
There were tears in Cannon's eyes. It had taken Cannon until now to notice. Shannon hadn't been the only one to know and suffer the taste of love. He had too. The tears Jessica had shown him that day, and her painful smiles on all the days since as she tried to smooth things over and brighten her mood, had slowly wrought some kind of change on Cannon's heart without him knowing it. Aww.
シャノン、さっきから呼んでいる。
Shannon snapped to reality at the sudden sound of Genji's voice. Apparently she had been called for repeatedly. She hurriedly answered. When she turned around, Cannon had disappeared. It seemed he didn't feel like showing his tears to anybody. Aww.
はい。ぼんやりしていてすみません。
昼食はカノンに頼んだが、本来は私の次の序列のお前が運ぶべきものだ。
I wonder if Beatrice requested Cannon specifically.
ベアトリーチェ様は当家の最高の賓客だ。それ以上の賓客はいない。もう一人の親方様と思い、丁重に頼む。
よろしいですか。くれぐれも粗相のないようにお願いしますよ。経験の未熟なあなたに託すのは非常に心苦しいですが、当家のルールとあっては仕方ありません。
Ugh, Goda drives me crazy.
くれぐれも頼みますよ。
Goda had officially agreed, but he threatened Shannon with an expression that told her he definitely wouldn't forgive any mistakes. Shannon, too, thought that Goda should do it if he wanted to that much. But considering it as her Shannon, too, thought that Goda should do it if he wanted it to... Shannon too thought that Goda should do it if he wanted to that much, but considering it as her responsibility as the one who had been granted the Golden Eagle, she had to give it up. Or she had to give up. Besides, I wanted to meet Beatrice. What will I talk about? What will I ask? I don't know. Will I show gratitude? Or else grief? Or else what? I don't know. Shannon loaded the witch's food onto the serving cart and left the kitchen with a slow gait. I wonder if Beatrice is going to come right out and, tell Shannon what's going to happen to her, or if she's going to be sneaky about it. The person knocking was Kraus.
お父さん、今日は年に一度の親族会議です。お父さんを一目見ようと兄弟が揃ったのではありませんか。
黙れ。出ぬと言っている。源氏、そこにいるのであろう。なぜ私の指示した通りに食事をここへ運ばせんのか。
Kinzo screamed through the door. Genji was waiting behind Kraus.
お食事は書斎へ運べるよう準備しております。ただクラウス様が今夜はどうか下へ降りていただきたいと。
お父さん、毎日とは言いません。せめて今夜だけでも家族で揃ってはくれませんか。
I wonder if this will ever change for any of the chapters, if Kinzo will always be in his study, or if there will be one time he's going to go down and join them for dinner. I mean, if Beatrice is down there, I imagine he would want to see her.
誰が家族か。貴様はいつから生き倒れを待つハゲタカたちを家族と呼ぶようになったのか。腐りて湧き出すウジ虫を家族と呼ぶようになったのか。
やれやれ。
Kraus shrugged at this answer, which he had half expected.
源氏、言われた通りに食事をここへ運べ。なぜ言うことを聞かぬ。なぜ
源氏さん、後を頼みます。もうあの人に私の声は届かんね。
Kraus gave his head a small shake and quickly turned his back on the door to the study. He had only called out for a sibling's sake, knowing it was useless. After Genji watched Kraus go down the stairs, he called again through the door.
親方様、
Maybe Genji will say, hey, Beatrice is going to be there.
お食事を運ぶ準備はできております。南條先生の分はいかがいたしますか。
Does he know? Does Genji even know? Or Genji, does Kinzo even know that Beatrice is there? They have a room set up for her and everything. Like, she couldn't physically enter the door, but I'm surprised that, Kinzo doesn't want to see her if he knows. Nanjo was also in the study. Because Kinzo had strongly pestered him about resolving their long-lasting chess game, Nanjo had been Kinzo's opponent since before evening. Nanjo had announced as a doctor that Kinzo's days were numbered. In that situation, if Kinzo pestered him about finishing a chess game while he was still alive, Nanjo couldn't refuse. Kinzo was thinking deeply about his move, concentrating more than usual. It had been Kinzo's turn for quite some time, and Nanjo, who was tired of waiting, had started randomly pulling out grimoires that he couldn't understand and skimming through them. That reminds me, I may be mistaken, but I feel like I heard a little something. I don't know if something new in the grimoire showed up. I guess not. I thought I had heard a sound before that maybe alerted that something new had been added. Okay, so I checked the character profiles. I didn't see anything change in them as well. So.
金蔵さん、盤面を前に腕を組むだけではいい一手は出ませんぞ。一つ休憩をして頭をリフレッシュしてみるのもいいのではありませんかな。黙れ。守りはこれで十分か。ビショップやナイトに隙間を突かれはしないか。
Today, Kinzo was insistent on a strong defense. Normally, Kinzo's motto was that offense was the best defense. However, today was completely the opposite. There's gotta be mirroring what's maybe gonna happen in this chapter. Maybe it's all about defense, hence his door being blocked by Beatrice. Like, she can't get in.
私も腹が減りました。ここいらで中断しませんか。それに休みなく頭を回転させておりましたから、もう頭がクラクラです。これ以上は私も最善手をさせるとは限りませんぞ。
それは困る。チェスは互いに常に最善手を指さねばならん。そうでない一手は理解に苦しみ、思考を読むゲームを狂わせてしまう。それでは今日を著しく削ぐというものだ。
Ginzo sighed deeply and finally shifted his gaze away from the board. Chess needs an opponent. That opponent was tired and suggesting to suspend the game, so what else could be done?
確かにチェスの目的は勝利を目指すことで、互いにそのために最善手を指す。そしてそれを読み合う知的ゲームです。ですが勝利以外にもう一つ目的があることを金蔵さんはお忘れではありませんか
な。なんだと？勝利以外にどんな目的があるというのか。
金蔵さんがそんなこともお忘れとは。チェスを通し親友と楽しい時間を過ごすですぞ。
参ったな。それは確かずいぶん昔に私がお前に言った言葉だったはず。これは参った。
Kinzo, who normally wore a frown, surprisingly relaxed his face and laughed. Nanjo felt like he had been reunited with a close friend he hadn't seen in a long time.
そういうことです。一本取られたついでにどうです？私と下に降りて食事と行きませんかな。
Oh my gosh, is he gonna do it?
食後にコーヒーと一緒にカスパロフの中盤についての議論でもいかがです？
良い提案だが遠慮する。私はもうこの部屋から出られない。儀式は始まっているのでな。
Right, he's gotta, like, this is the only place he assumes he's going to be safe.
そうですか。
That's the thing. Whatever happened to Kinzo? We never found out, like, if that body in the boiler, was that really him? That was kind of like a mystery to me. So maybe he survived? Maybe I'm just being naive.
では私はお腹もペコペコですからな。下へ降りることにします。気が向いたらいつでも。
南條、ありがと
う。おや、何の礼ですかな？
お前とのチェスの決着はつかなかった。だが、私が忘れていたチェスの目的はどうやら果たせたらしい。それはどうもチェックメイトと同じくらい重要なものであったらしい。
らしくもない。何の干渉ですかな。
It's like he knows he's going to die tonight. He's going to die or win.
お前が言ったのではないか。私には余命がないと。もう行け。そしてもうこの部屋へ来るな。続きは黄金鏡であろう。
Oh damn, he seems to be fully ready to die right now. It's like he's not even going to try and fight. He said, like a defense. So he's basically going to hole up in his room and hope that's going to be enough to save him, but...
いいですが、仕切り直しですぞ。ルークが落ちてしまったのは痛手ですのでな。それでは、後ほど。
ああ、後ほどな。黄金鏡か、煉獄か、あるいは次の世で。
Nanjo didn't say anything beyond that, and with a practiced hand, he pushed the button on the table that would release the auto lock. Then after looking at Kinzo's back one last time, he left the study. As he did, Genji's voice came from the hall.
それでは親方様、これより夕食をお運びいたします。
最後の晩餐になるやもしれん。味わわねばな。
He didn't seem this defeated the first time. It's almost like he's got some memories about what happened last time, and he's just like resigned himself to die. Like before, he seemed like he was excited for this. He was going to try his best to defeat Beatrice, and whether he survived or not, I'm not sure. Unlikely. But this one, he just seems so just defeated.
準備を頼む。
かしこまりました。親方様のご準備の方は万端となりま
Are
し
your
た。
preparations in order?
この部屋を
Okay,
今日まで
yeah.
問旗への結界で厳重に包んだ。
Literally, best offense is a good defense.
あれのルーレットが私を選ぼうとも必ずや弾き返す。そして生き残り黄金鏡へたどり着くうちの一人は絶対に私となる。私を冥府へ連れ去ろうとする死神どもの来訪をも拒もうぞ。
失礼します。お食事の準備に参りました。
Shannon entered the VIP room, bowing her head and pushing the serving cart. The young woman by the window, apparently gazing out into the impenetrable darkness outside, was unmistakably that witch.
今度はシャノンか。懐かしいな。おお、顔色がだいぶ良くなったではないか。カノンとは違うな。見違えたぞ。
ありがとうございます。
Shannon solemnly prepared dinner. There was actually several things she wanted to ask and talk with the witch about, but those things were all jumbled up and she didn't know where to start. Her heart was also jumbled up with various things, and she didn't even understand her own emotions. Therefore, still remaining vague, all she could do was carry out her work indifferently. However, the witch guessed what was in her heart. You can't hide things from a witch.
謝らぬぞ。わらわは魔女だからな。
何がでしょう。
おや、カノンから聞かされたであろう。そなたの恋路を助けたのはわらわの単なるいたずら心。いかにしてこじれ、ねじれ、破綻するかを干渉するためにまいた種に過ぎぬと。
恋はするより聞く方が楽しい方もおられるでしょう。
まさかわらわに感謝しようというのではあるまいな。
はい。あなたが私にどんな下心があって恋の魔法を授けたとしても、あなたが私に与えてくれたものは変わらない。だから添い遂げられないと知りつつまいた種であったとしても、私は恨んだりしません。
ふん、やはり家具というのは面白みのない。それを面白く調理するのがわらわの腕の見せ所よの。
私にベアトリーチェ様のお考えはわかりません。あなたは私たちなど足元にも及ばない大魔女で、その遠大な資料など想像するにも至りません。でも一つだけ言えることがある。
なんだ。
私に人間を教えてくれてありがとう。あなたが言った。私はもう家具じゃない。
黙れ、家具。
It's like she's throwing it back at Beatrice, being like, you expected, me to be all upset about this, but I'm going to be gracious, and I'm going to throw you off. Your game?
真の人間ならば婚約指輪を受け取ろうという日に告げられた死の宣告に嘆き狂いて踊り出すだろう。なのにそなたはなんだ。
Oh yeah, she's got Beatrice a little bit thrown off.
達観し、すべてを受け入れたような顔つきではないか。
Well, doesn't the epitaph say the whole thing, like everybody will be reunited and revived in the Golden Land? So she's probably like, if I'm human and I can reach the Golden Land, I'll be with George again, so...
実に拍子抜けだぞ。家具。
いいえ、
私は家具じゃない。
黙れ家具。
黙りません。家具ではありませんから。
わらわの命令が聞けぬというか。
家具なら命令に従います。
Oh, Shannon, look at you, girl. Yes. Stand up for yourself. Look at that resolve in her eyes.
でも人間は命令に従うかどうかを自分で決めます。だから私はあなたの命令に従わ
Wow,
ない。
I love the flip side here. Cannon literally kissed her feet after being so defiant, and Shannon is the one standing up to Beatrice.
前言を撤回する。やはり面白いぞ。種をまかねば、そなたは何の感情も抱かず儀式に身を任せただろう。しかし今のそなたは実に面白く育ち、わらわを心底楽しませてくれるぞ。
So maybe it's going to be the flip side. Maybe rather than maybe she's like, I was going to choose you and George to die together, but now maybe she'll take George away first and leave Shannon by herself to deal with the grief since she's human.
それでいい。わらわは退屈を愛さないのだから。
お夕食の準備が整いました。どうぞ。
うん。なかなかうまそうではないか。ゴーダが黄金鏡へたどり着くことがあれば、わらわの料理長に任命してやってもよかろう。
カノン君に聞きました。私にジョージさんの婚約を断らせれば、私を生贄にしないなんて約束をしたとか。
Doesn't Beatrice say herself though, witches are fickle, you know, even if Shannon did what she asked her to do, Beatrice could just change her mind and be like, I'm going to keep things interesting.
うん、したぞ。そなたは第二の晩にうってつけの生贄候補だったのだがな。カノンがそれを許せと泣いて叫ぶので、寛大に聞き入れてやったのよ。そなたが婚約を破棄すればとの条件付きでな。わらわのなんと寛大なことよ。
なんてバカな条件。そしてなんてバカな脅迫。
Oh my gosh, Shannon, I love this.
そんなものでカノン君をいじめ抜いたというの。
ほう、わかるのか。
Apparently, Shannon had seen through it. Apparently, she could imagine how much Cannon had been bullied and humiliated by the witch with that horrible promise as bait.
絨毯に這いつくばらせ、わらわの靴にキスをさせてやったぞ。それだけではない。他にどのような恥ずかしめを与えたか。
Shannon silently shook her head.
あなたという人を、あなたは人をいじめ、惑わせ、困らせて、それを楽しみ、糧にしている。だから、あなたに抵抗する唯一の方法が、これであると確信した。
なんだ。
あなたなんか知らない。私は、私に与えられた運命を全うする。だから、あなたを面白がらせたりしない。
あなたなんか知らない。
The witch's features twisted in hatred for just an instant. It disappeared immediately, but that expression that rose to her face for only a brief time was unusual for the witch, who had never broken her malicious smile. Who would have thought that everybody Shannon would be the one to break her?
そういう抗い方もあるか。面白い。気に入った。殺してやる。お前の思い人と一緒にな。
それがあなたの決められた運命ならば、ご随意に。私はそれに怯えたり、逆らったりしません。これから起こる苛烈な運命が、あなたの意志によるものだなんて信じないから。
Ooh, wow, Shannon's saying straight up that Beatrice is not as in control as she thinks she is.
私たち人間は、未来に起こりうる運命など知らない。だからこそ、最後の瞬間まで、自分の信念と運命に従い、
精一杯生き抜く。運命はただのサイコロの目。そこに悪意なんて感じない。あなたが吹き込もうと信じない。
And there's Shannon saying, roll of the dice. Fate is a roll of the dice.
ほう。家具をやめたくせに死を恐れぬとはな。それがわらわを退屈させると思っているようだが、それは大きな誤解だぞ。そなたが本当に最後の瞬間までそれを貫けるか、ますます興味が湧いた。
私は悔しい。どうしてあなたは人の姿をして私たちの前に現れ、人の言葉で語り私たちを嘲笑うのか。私たちの前に現れず運命を予告しなかったなら、私たちは最後の一瞬まで精一杯生きられるのに。
それが魔女というものよ。貴様らの運命を食い物に、工事の存在として定時の存在の上に君臨する。そなたらの運命など所詮はかけら。両手で碗を作ればいくらでも救える。わらわに飼われた肉牛どもが何をほざこうとも、わらわの食卓を楽しませる結果に変わりはせぬのに同じこと。
無力な私たちにはあなたの儀式にも運命にも抗うことなどできない。しかしあなたに今すぐ不愉快な思いをさせることはできる。
ほう、それは何か。
今すぐここを立ち去ることです。あなたの言葉に答えることは全てあなたを楽しませている。あなたの問いかけに答えないことがあなたへ唯一できる抵抗です。
Except Beatrice always manages to twist things around whenever they say, like, I'm gonna do something to upset you or I'm not gonna play any of your games. Beatrice, that in herself, she thinks that's entertaining because they're trying so hard to be like, I have control right now. And she's like, alright, you think what you want.
なるほどなるほど。一矢報いることはできよう。しかし、わらわを倒すことはできぬぞ。わらわは誰しもを永遠に殺す力を持っている。永遠に繰り返し殺される輪廻の中で、そなたがいつまでその抵抗をできるのか、実に楽しみだ。忘れるなよ。自らが口にした言葉。
それでは失礼いたします。ご用がありましたらお呼びください。
Shannon gave a reserved bow as she would to a stranger and faced away. With that gesture, maybe she really had taken a shot back at the witch, just as Beatrice had mentioned. Because when the witch called out again, she sounded a little more quick-tempered than she had before.
カノンはわらわに感謝したぞ。そなたは感謝せぬのか。安息の日をわらわが与えることを。
家具なら安息の日を喜びましょう。ですが私は人間ですので、だからあなたに感謝することはありません。ご用はそれだけですか？
ジョージから指輪をもらうつもりであろう。受け取れば、わらわがカノンと交わしたそなたを生贄に選ばないという約束を破棄すること。
まだご用があるなら他のものを来させますので、それでは失礼いたします。
A flat-out interruption. Shannon gave no more answers, and the sound of the door closing came instead of an answer. It seemed that Shannon's resistance had probably struck far more deeply into the witch than Shannon herself had thought. Oh, okay, so she was successful in kind of get a little bit of a dig at her, because an expression of hatred had once again risen to Beatrice's face. She had made Cannon submit, even though he hadn't been taken in until the end. Yet after that, now it was Shannon who refused to submit, when until now she had been easily taken in.
やはりこれは面白いことではないか。 わらわもまだまだ若いか。これだから1000年は生き飽きぬのよ。
The most fabulous time in the family conference. That was the dinner. Back when Kinzo had been serious about the family conference, he has placed extreme importance upon this dinner, for which everyone would gather just once a year. Should the dinner not meet standards, he would take it as the deepest shame for himself as the host, and he had strongly ordered Natsui to make absolutely sure it was one to be proud of. Because of that, she and Kraus had employed Goda, who had confidence in his cooking abilities. As a result, they could unveil a wonderful dinner they had confidence in. Yet by that time, Kinzo had started closing himself up in his study and no longer appeared for dinner. Maybe you could call that ironic. When the main dish for tonight, calf steak, was set out, Goda began to brag about it, further exciting everyone's appetite. And then Maria's going to ruin everyone's dinner by reading that letter.
こちら、ソースはボルドレーズとなっております。ベースの赤ワインはもちろん、ボルドー産の中でも素晴らしいものを使用しておりますが、その他にも当家オリジナルブレンドとしまして、世界各地数種類の名酒をブレンドしまして、より深い味わいとなりますよう整えてございます。このソースは本年限りのものでございます。どうかお楽しみいただければ幸いです。
素晴らしいじゃないか。しかしボルドレーズソースはフランス料理の王道ではないのかね。それにフランス以外の酒を使うのは少し邪道ではないかという気もするね。
旦那様、本日は年に一度の親族会議でございます。普段は遠方にお住まいの皆様がはるばるお越しになり、一堂に集われた夜の晩餐には、世界各地より普段は出会うことのない名酒を取り寄せブレンドしたソースが何よりもふさわしいかと存じ、特別にご用意させていただいたのでございます。
素晴らしい。
I wonder, I'm sure that's what Goda actually meant to do. Like, he probably had, reason to do that, but I like to imagine that Kraus put him on the spot, but he's just an expert about spinning a thing and be like, no, I did it on purpose, totally.
本当に素晴らしい料理人や、あんたは。能楽器が加わると、料理も薬も効果は2倍になるっちゅうわけやな。元の料理のうまさも2倍。さらに能楽器で2倍。味の倍々ゲームや。
Hideyoshi's the ultimate hype man.
いやね、兄さん。その質問、読まれてたんじゃないの？
違いねえな。まんまと美味しいところをゴーダさんに持ってかれちまったぜ。
そうかね。今日の料理をフランス風だと気づいていない者もいるんじゃないかと思ってね。エヴァは先ほどバターを使わないのが美徳と言ったが、それはスペイン風だ。確かに国境を接してはいるがね。
そういう意味で言ったんじゃないわよ。話の一部分だけ抜き出して勝手に加工しないでくれるかしら。
とっても美味しいソースね。
This is going to be the best they're going to be feeling for probably the rest of this chapter.
ゴーダさんは本当に素晴らしいわ。
The dinners is when it goes from like, having a relatively good time even if there's this underlying stress and tension to just everything going to shit.
お褒めに預かり、大変光栄です。これもすべて奥様の日頃のご指導のおかげでございます。
いえ、すべてゴーダのアイディアです。私はレシピを聞き、承認しただけです。
It looked like the siblings quickly got into a loud argument about something as trivial as the sauce. But for the most part, dinner proceeded peacefully. However, the thing that they all really wanted to ask about smoldered inside each of their hearts. And that was the visitor, the 19th person. Oh my gosh, I'm waiting for Beatrice to just open, like once Mario reads the letter, Beatrice just gonna burst in through the doors, be like, "Sup, bitches!" I want that so bad. I want her to make a grand entrance. The Golden Witch. In actuality, Ava, Rudolph, and Kyrie were on alert during dinner. And this is the opposite of the first chapter, where it completely caught them off guard. This time they're ready for it. But they couldn't possibly be ready for what's actually going to happen. If the mystery guest was to be introduced, this dinner table was the most appropriate place to do it. However, no plates had been prepared at the table for the witch. The family conference would begin in earnest after the meal, and previous experiences told them it could last until deep into the night. But they couldn't understand what meaning there could be in keeping this person who should be introduced hidden until late at night. At death's door. How appropriate. So Ava, Rudolph, and Kyrie had started to suspect something, that the guest might actually be unknown to Kraus as well. If she wasn't a saboteur called by Kraus to give him an advantage in the inheritance problem, they should probably speak frankly to Kraus beforehand and create a common front to resist anything disadvantageous to the four siblings. If she was Kinzo's saboteur, whose purpose was to keep the inheritance from being handed over to the four siblings? The enmity between Kraus and the other siblings could become nothing more than a weak point that benefited the enemy.
それではごゆっくりお楽しみください。
With the table set and the cuisine explained, Goda tried to leave the room, but Kyrie called to him to stop with a small voice.
はい、キリエ様。何か。
ごめんなさい。今日はお客様がいらっしゃってると思ったんだけど、晩餐にはお見えにならないのかしら。
She had thought she'd said it nonchalantly, but unfortunately it reached the ears of Natsui, who was sitting in the next seat. It seemed Natsui had heard it to mean, even though there are guests here today, won't the host be coming to dinner? In other words, Kyrie had asked whether Kinzo was going to come to dinner.
当主様は体調が優れられませんので、お部屋で食事をとると仰せです。主人が初めにそう説明いたしましたが、何か。
ごめんなさい。そうじゃないの。
In an instant, Kyrie realized from Natsui's reaction that this unknown visitor was also unknown to Kraus and his wife. And what that meant. On the chessboard placed inside Kyrie's mind, she could feel the arrangement of the pieces changing, making loud clattering sounds.
客?
It seemed that Battler, who was sitting next to Natsui, had heard Kyrie's words without misunderstanding them, and he let out a wild voice questioning who else could have been invited to today's family conference. Battler, not known for his subtlety. Thanks to that voice, the uncomfortable feeling in the siblings' chest suddenly exploded. Everyone looked at Goda at the same time. Judging by their appearances, it was obvious that at least no one here had invited that mystery woman. For an instant, Goda was startled to find everyone's gaze gathered on him, but because of his naturally vain personality, this actually gave him a feeling of superiority. Therefore, he answered in an extremely calm and graceful manner.
はい、貴賓室でお一人で食事を取られたいとのことで、そちらへお運びしております。
Therefore, Goda's extremely graceful and reasonable response made it obvious to everyone that a 19th person, a visitor, existed.
貴賓室？客？何の、誰の話ですか？
Natsui's words echoed the question everyone who didn't know about the visit of the Golden Witch was thinking. Goda was slightly disoriented, as though he hadn't remotely expected to be questioned by Natsui. That honored guest had been spoken of so stringently. He hadn't imagined that Kraus and his wife might not have known.
そのベアトリーチェ様でございます。
ベアトリーチェ、ほらほら、ベアトリーチェ来てるでしょ。
It's funny, the irony of, like, them keeping Rosa in the dark about things. Like, they didn't tell Rosa about that they knew something was up, but Rosa knows more than they do because she actually saw Beatrice and she's got a letter from her. Maria had been telling the other cousins over and over again she had met Beatrice today. The cousins had answered saying, "Isn't that nice?" but they hadn't believed. So their eyes grew wide.
すまねえ。俺はてっきりマリアの冗談だと思ってたぜ。あ、本当にいたんだな。
the atmosphere in this is so different. Like, everything is kind of up front rather than being in the shadows like the first chapter.
ベアトリーチェって、あの黄金のベアトリーチェなのかよ。
マリアはいるってずっと言ってる。誰も信じてない。
ごめんね、マリアちゃん。そういうつもりじゃないんだよ。
After learning that everyone had doubted Beatrice's existence, Maria, who had been in a good mood all day, completely lost her temper. George, who was sitting next to her, tried frantically to calm her.
ゴーダ、それもディナーの何かの余興なのかね。なかなかの味な演出だ。
兄貴、三文芝居はやめようぜ。兄貴が呼んだんだろ。
This is when Goda's like, oh, I'm just gonna go this way now. You guys can talk about this. I'm just gonna mosey on along.
呼ぶ？誰よ？どこから？
兄さん、はっきりさせましょう。あれは誰？まさか本当に肖像画のベアトリーチェだと言うんじゃないでしょうね。
私にはお前たちが何を言っているのかさっぱりだ。ゴーダ、これは本当に冗談ではないのだな。
私は源氏さんからそのように指示を受けただけでして、
源氏を呼びなさい。今すぐ。
When Natsuo yelled, Goda shot out into the hallway. The sound of the door being thrown open at that time triggered a sudden uproar around the dinner table.
じゃあ兄貴も知らないってんだな。呼んだのは誰だ？親父ってことか？
私には何のことかわからんね。お前たちは私が裏で糸を引いていると信じているようだが、それは大きな誤解だ。
クララス兄さん、落ち着いてえな。わしらはもう腹の探り合いをすべき段階にないで。もし兄さんも知らない怪人物だっちゅうんなら、これはとんでもない話になるんやで。
秀吉さん、言葉を少し慎みませんか？主人は親族会議に不要な人間を招いたりはしません。
まったくだ。お前たちは何を言っているのかね。肖像画の魔女が額縁を抜け出して現れたとでも言うのかね。実際にその魔女様に会ったという人間がいるわけでもなかろうだ。
Oh, you're gonna set Maria off. She's like, Oh, Rosa, yeah. Ava and Rudolph nodded at Rosa's proclamation.
マリアもあった。クラウスおじさん信じて。ママを信じて。
The brief tension was broken, and Maria also started to make a ruckus. The room was now chaotic.
何が何だかさっぱりだぜ。つまりなんだ？じいさまに黄金を授けた魔女様が今年の親族会議にはスペシャルゲストとして登場ってわけかよ。
しかし本当にローザおばさんの見間違いってことじゃねえの？
マリアもあった。
ローザおばさん、間違いなくなんですか？
ええ、私とマリアは会って話もしてる。私は会ったの。あれは間違いなく魔女だった。信じて。私の見間違いとか錯覚とかそんなのじゃ断じてない。
Now she must know how Maria feels when nobody believes her when she says she saw Beatrice.
あれは何だったの
？In the instant before the typhoon visited, Rosa had definitely met with the witch in the rose garden, but that scene had been so hard to accept as reality, and the more she spoke of it like this, the less she understood what it was she had met. Ironically, because she had lost her composure when she said she had definitely met the witch, the more desperate she became, the more vague the witch's existence seemed. So it was a single composed sentence that affirmed her existence for certain.
私も会ったわ。
Oh yeah, right. I forgot Kyrie saw her as well. Derp. That's right. Yeah, Kyrie talked about that and dragged them. That's how I feel so dumb. Yeah, Rosa didn't have this secret information. Kyrie saw her. But Rosa does have the envelope.
挨拶とはとても言えないけれど、一応言葉も交わしてる。ローザさんの見間違いとかじゃ断じてないわ。
キリエさん、それマジかよ。
ええ。でも彼女は私に名乗らなかった。だから彼女がベアトリーチェであると断定はできない。でも、主観的で恐縮なんだけど、私は玄関ホールで彼女に会ったから、肖像画と顔を見比べることができた。私は第一印象で、彼女こそがこの肖像画の主に違いないって思ったわ。あくまでも主観よ。
そんなことはありえません。第一、その女はどこからやってきたというのですか。今日の船は皆さんの送迎のための便が往復しただけです。その船に乗っていたのですか？
それを言われると弱いな。確かにそんなご婦人と一緒に下船した記憶はない。
あら、そう？私たちの乗ってきた船以外に船はないってどうして証明できるの？できないわ。来なかったは証明できない。
道理だな。来たは証明できる。来たのを見たやつが見たと言えばいい。しかし、来ないは証明できないぜ。全員が来ない、見てないと言ったところで、全員が見てないところでこっそり来たことを否定はできない。つまり、悪魔の証明ってやつだ。
It's easy to prove that a devil exists. All you have to do is meet a devil. But it's impossible to prove that devils don't exist. Just because no one has ever met a devil doesn't mean that you can deny the possibility that they're hiding away somewhere that humans cannot go. This flies in the face of what Badler says about how he doesn't believe in witches. Like, that goes against his logic about how witches can't be real, even though he's met a witch. So, I don't know what to think about his reasoning now. He's kind of going against his own reasoning. You can't deny the existence of aliens for exactly the same reasons. Until humanity searches the whole of space and can show perfectly that aliens don't exist, you can't be sure that they don't. Maybe subconsciously in this loop, Badler's taking what happened last time, and he's a little bit less, what's the word I'm thinking of? Distrusting of that, or, just like, not suspicious, that's not the word I'm thinking of. Skeptical, that's the word. He's not as skeptical as he was the first chapter. It's definitely impossible for us to ever check the entirety of space for the existence of aliens. Therefore, while there may be a number of ways to prove aliens do exist, it's impossible to show proof that denies their existence.
となれば、僕たちが乗ってきた船以外の船で来たかどうかなんて、議論しても無駄な問題ということになるね。僕たちと一緒の船にはいなかった。それだけが事実で、それ以外の方法で、とにかくこの島に訪れたことになる。
そうね。どうやって来たかなんて、議論の必要はないかもしれない。肝心なのは、現にこの屋敷に今いて、私たちと晩餐を共にする気がないという事実よ。
整理しよう。今この島には、後ろ宮家18人以外に、もう一人客がいる。そしてそいつは、兄貴も夏日姉さんも知らない客だってんだな。
知りません。何の話だかもわかりません。
お前は少し黙っていなさい。頭痛に触る。妻の言う通りだ。私にはお前たちが何の話をしているのかさっきからさっぱりだ。
じゃあ答えは一つしかないわ。お父様が呼んだのよ。今日の親族会議のために。
Oh my god, Ava. Like, can you take it down to a 2? Like, she's always just like, she's always at a 10.
親族会議に？だから何のために？
そんなの知らないわよ。兄さんが知ってたらそれを問い詰めようって思ってたのよ。
エヴァ、予算か。クラース兄さんは知らんと言うとる。つまり話はこうや。お父さんが肖像画の魔女にそっくりの客人をこっそり招いた。それにローザさんが出会い、マリアちゃんが出会い、そしてキリエさんもあった。今はそこまでや。わしらに言いたいことがあるんなら、とっとと姿を現せばええ。
挨拶もなしに引きこもってるっちゅうんはどないなわけなんやってことなんや。
親族会議なんか花から関心のない親父が新しい愛人をこっそり呼びつけたってわけか。理想の魔女様のおべべを着せてよ。そう決着するには今日という日は意味を持ちすぎてるぜ。
理由は一つしかない。親族会議に加わるためよ。お父様の遺産について何かの権利を主張する気でいるのよ。
バカバカしい。当主様に愛人などと汚らわしいものなどおりません。
お前は黙っていると言っている。私はこの屋敷でずっと親父殿と過ごしているが、そんな話は聞いたこともない。最大限理解を示したとして何十年も昔の愛人との間に隠し子がいたとして、それを親父殿が探し出し今日という日に呼びつけたと、こう言いたいのかね。
あなた、お父様にそんなものがいるわけがありません。尊い後宮の血が愛人ごときに。先ほどから数人が見た見たと自称しているに過ぎません。幻想妄想白昼夢に決まっています。あるいはこれも夫を陥れるための皆さんの何らかの芝居なのですか？
何の芝居だってのよ。芝居だって言うならそっちでしょうが。
Oh wow. Okay.
よせよ姉貴、ちょいと暴力的な言い方だが夏日さんの言う通りではある。桐江は姿を見たが俺は見てない。姉貴もだ。だがローザは見た。しかしってことはいるってことになる。いるを証明している連中が存在する以上、いるで直ちに決着だ。
It still bothers me that sometimes exists is in quotations and sometimes it's not.
悪魔の証明の逆パターンってわけだな。それに俺も会いたいんだよ。そして一体当家に何の御用かと直接問いただしたい。
それについては私も同感だ。六軒島へ何の御用かぜひお尋ねしたいものだ。
白々しいこと言わないで。狙いは一つよ。お父様の遺産を狙ってるのよ。相続問題に明るい弁護士に今後の作戦を練らせるべきよ。お母様と同格の権利を愛人が主張した場合、私たちの取り分はかっきり半分さらわれることになる。
ちょっとみんな待って。
Oh, is she gonna talk about the letter?
源氏さんがもうじき来るわ。彼は何でも知ってる。きっと私たちの疑問に答えてくれるわ。それまでそういう話はなしにしましょう。さあ子供たち、悪いけれど大人はちょっと込み入った話をしないといけないの。ゲストハウスへ戻っていなさい。
Oh, and here comes the separation of the kids and the adults again, just like what happened in the first chapter. Rosa yelled at the children, slightly emotional, except Mari's gonna be like, no, I have to read the letter to everybody. The children didn't understand why they were suddenly being yelled at now, but Ava and the rest came to the same realization as Rosa after a delay. They were talking so grandly about the filthy topic of the inheritance in front of the children. There was no way they'd want their children to remain here, so they all immediately agreed with Rosa's plan.
そうやな。ローザさんの言う通りや。ジョージ、いとこみんなでゲストハウスに戻ってるんや。いとこ同士仲良く遊ぶんやで。
ジョージ、言われた通りになさい。いとこみんなを連れて今すぐ出ていくのよ。
ちょっと待ってよ母さん。僕たちはまだ食事も終えていない。
デザートもまだ来てない。
I'd be the same way, be like, but I want my food.
デザートはゴーダさんにゲストハウスに運ばせます。だから出て行きなさい。
ジェシカ、ここから先は大人の話し合いです。行きなさい。
わかったよ。まだ食いかけだってのによ。
ってことは俺だけ例外ってことはないよな。
理解してくれてありがとう、バトラ君。でもあなたラッキーよ。
どうして？
私も出て行けるなら出て行きたいもの。
違いねえぜ。 大人は大人で遺産をめぐって楽しい一家団らんをお楽しみくださいってんだ。
私も席を外しましょう。
I let Nanjo too, like, I'm out of here. This has nothing to do with me, and this is gonna get awkward.
どうやら今夜は私の出番はなさそうだ。
Nanjo softly rose from his seat. He had been calmly watching the whole discussion from his seat at the farthest corner of the table without pointlessly interrupting. His reaction was very adult, like a calm old gentleman. When Nanjo rose from his seat, it urged on the other people who were supposed to leave. As the children noisily rose from their seats, a commotion was heard in the hallway as the servants returned.
遅くなって申し訳ございません。源氏をお呼びいたしました。
お屋敷の中の戸締まりの確認に行っておりましたもので遅くなりました。申し訳ございません。
さあ、子供たちはゲストハウスへ。ゴーダさん、申し訳ないのだけれど、子供たちの分のデザートをゲストハウスへ運んでくれるかしら。
は、よろしいのですか。
It seemed Goda did not appreciate the dinner he had worked so hard on was going to be interrupted like this. I do feel sorry for Goda that every time his dinner he worked so hard for is ruined. He sent Natsui a look as though asking her whether that was really all right.
ローザさんの言う通りにするように。それから私たちにデザートの配膳は不要です。
I feel bad for him in this instance.
呼び出しがあるまで食堂には近づかないように。これは他の使用人にも伝えること。いいですね。
はい、かしこまりました。
さあさあ皆さん参りましょうかな。マリアさんもこれ以上お母さんを困らせてはいけません。
マリアもベアとの話する。やだやだ。
マリアちゃん、僕たちにゲストハウスでベアトリーチェの話を聞かせてくれないかい？ぜひ魔女の話を聞きたいんだ。ね。
He really knows just what to say, doesn't he?
ジョージ兄さんは本当にうめえぜ。感動するぜ。
本当に子持ちじゃねえのかよ。手慣れすぎだぜ。
Maria's mood was completely back to normal at George's words, and she even took the initiative in hurrying everyone to go to the guest house. It looked like Goda didn't like being kicked out himself, but he was unable to disobey Natsui, and left the room with Battler and the rest, closing the door.
ご用は何でしょうか、みな。
あるわ。たっぷりと。それもみんな。誰から質問するかくじ引きが欲しいくらいよ。
だが誰が一番のくじを引こうとも最初にする質問は同じだと思うね。
違いねえな。源氏さん、正直に答えてくれ。今貴賓室にいるベアトリーチェってのは何者なんだ。
Hideyoshi's claim that advertising doubled the taste was apparently right. The kids and Nanjo, who had been chased out to the guest house, had gathered in the cousin's room, and were eating the cake that Kumasawa had brought there for dessert. It was both wonderful and high class, with lavish amounts of cream and decorated deliciously with fruits. But even though it was delicious, for some reason, it didn't taste quite as good.
ゴーダさんの脳書きがないと味ってずいぶん落ちるんだな。
Oh, I guess Godo was in a mood because he was told to be the one to deliver it to the kids, but it's just like he was so upset. You know, normally he's all proud about showing off his food, but he's probably so upset he just told Kumasawa, "You do it, I don't want to."
能書きを求めようにも熊沢のばあちゃんに聞いた日にゃこのケーキの原料もサバってことになっちまうぜ。
本当？サバからケーキってできる？
ええ、このケーキもサバの絞り汁に小麦粉と卵を混ぜて焼き上げるとふっくら焼き上がるのでございますよ。
それが本当ならすごいね。 お父さんの店の新メニューにサバケーキとか登場するかもしれないよ。
サバって栄養満点でヘルシーっぽいイメージがあるしよ。女性とかお年寄りに人気が出たりしてな。俺は食わねえけどよ。
女はそんなゲテモノは食わねえぜ。
年寄りも遠慮したいところですな。
ほほほほほ、おいしいんですけどね。
Kumasawa was really raising the mood with the mackerel jokes that were her specialty. Like, what a weird specialty is, like, not just jokes, but mackerel jokes. But the sound of the downpouring rain invariably focused their concern on the mystery guest. In the end, they ended up showering Maria with questions again, since she was the only person here to have met Beatrice.
まさか、あの話が本当だったとはね。
その口ぶりだと、マリアが魔女に会ってたって話は、信じてなかったまでにも、初耳じゃねってことらしいな。
ああ、夢見がちなお年頃のよくあるおとぎ話くらいに思ってたぜ。
いる！ベアトリーチェはいる！毎年親族会議に来るたびにマリアは会って一緒に遊んでた。
そうですね。ベアトリーチェ様は普段はお姿をお見せになりませんけど、心がきれいで素直な方の前にはひょっこり姿を現していたずらをすることもあるそうですからね。
Beatrice was a name which referred to the being in that fairy tale about the Rokonjima witch. Because the family and the servants publicly accepted the image of the witch of Kinzo's delusions to keep him in a good mood, it became established as Rokonjima's fairy tale, or maybe ghost story. To the family members who knew the history, the fairy tale of the Golden Witch didn't have much substance. However, they hadn't been able to say that in front of Kinzo. So to those who didn't know the history, like young Maria for example, it definitely wasn't unsubstantial, but a real legend of a witch. So Maria believed in the legend of the witch. She swallowed it whole. That was natural for an imaginative girl who believed in witches. So no one said anything to betray her dream. On the contrary, they arranged things together to get her excited about her dreams.
だから、マリアちゃんがベアトリーチェにもらったお菓子と言って僕らに見せびらかすことがあっても、多分誰かがそういうことにして、マリアちゃんの手提げの中にこっそり飴玉でも忍ばせたのだろうって思ってた。
私も昔に2度か3度そういうふりをして。
Like they're saying it right in front of Maria that they were just doing it to, you know, what's the word I'm thinking of? To humor her.
こっそりお菓子を置いてあげたことがあります。おそらく熊沢さんにも、いや、使用人の皆さんや後ろ宮家の皆さんも一度や二度はあるんじゃないでしょうか。
うん。無邪気な小さい子が喜ぶなら、口裏を合わせてお菓子を置いてくこともあるか。ってことは、ジョージの兄貴なんかだいぶやってそうだな。
まあね。
Admitting that would probably be unrefined. George admitted it while being extremely wary that Maria didn't find out yet. He's being a little more sneaky about it. The other guys are just coming right out and saying it.
つまり、サンタクロースみたいなもんか。子供の夢を守るために、両親がグルで嘘をついて、寝静まったこの枕元にプレゼントを置いていたと。
Maria's like, wait, Santa Claus doesn't exist either? What?
子供の夢って守ってあげたいし。私は当然サンタなんていないってとっくに知ってるわけだけど。
Guys, be a little bit more subtle. Nine's pushing it a little bit for believing in Santa Claus. I think I was about, I don't know, 7 or 8 when I, you know, learned that it wasn't real.
もし覚めなくてもいい夢だったなら一生信じていたかったぜ。
世の中は世知辛いばかりだと知ってしまうからこそ、大人はせめて子供の綺麗な夢を守ってやりたいと思うものです。
ああ、ベアトリーチェはいるの？
いますとも。ベアトリーチェ様はおりますよ。この前もですね、サバを干して 紅茶の出汁に使おうとしておりましたら、そこへひょっこり。
まあつまりこういう調子だったはずなんだけどね。
つまりマリアを除けば誰も信じてなかったはずの魔女ってわけだ。
少し言葉が足りないね。信じてなかったんじゃない。信じさせてあげようとしたんだ。
So this was about not betraying a child's innocence. But Santa doesn't exist in reality. If you don't want them to be all disappointed when they learn that, you should just not give them the dream in the first place. Did I think like that because I was still a long way from becoming a full adult? Badler had finally attained a level of understanding about the true form of the Rokkenjima witch. But the current situation lay on an even higher level of understanding than that, and overturned all its premises.
という認識だったはずの魔女のベアトリーチェ様が実際に現れちまったと。そういうことか。しかもだ、おじさんたちの騒ぎを見る限りどうも招かれた客でもないらしい。こりゃ面白そうな話だぜ。
ベアトリーチェという女性が実在しないという前提は実は存在しない。ルドルフおじさんも言っていた悪魔の証明そのものだよ。ベアトリーチェと名乗る女性の存在を僕たちは誰も知らなかった。でもだからといってそれがベアトリーチェが実在する可能性を否定できるわけじゃない。
南條先生はじいさまとの付き合いが長いですよね。
一時期親族会議でクラウスさんたちに随分と聞かれた話ですな。その昔金蔵さんにベアトリーチェという愛人がいて、その隠し子がいるのではないかという話です。
なるほどな。親父たちは遺産分配で頭がいっぱいだ。そこに愛人の娘なんてのが現れれば面倒なことになるのは火を見るより明らかってわけだ。
クラウスさんたちも最初は源氏さんに聞かれたのでしょう。しかし源氏さんは金蔵さんに忠誠を誓う側近で、多分私よりも金蔵さんが心を許す親友です。源氏さんは多分何も語らなかったのでしょう。それで次に古い友人である私の方に話を聞こうということになったのでしょうな。
で結論として南條先生、じい様にベアトリーチェという愛人はいたんすか
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I guess it's not that hard to believe.
いえ、私は会ったことはありませんぞ。ですが、そういう女性と交際があったと金蔵さんから聞かされたことはありました。相当昔にお亡くなりになられたそうで。
Yeah, I guess it has already been said that. Like, I didn't know if it was a romantic relationship or if it was just like a business relationship where she offered him the gold in exchange for him, you know, swearing that he would pay her back down the line with this game, you know?
死んだ。その間に子供がいたとか。
それは分かりません。ただ金蔵さんはベアトリーチェを蘇らせるために研究をしていると常々言っておりました。普通は愛人を失い忘れがたみがいたならばそちらにその分の愛情を注ぐものです。ですから金蔵さんとベアトリーチェの間に子供はいなかったろうと私たちは自然に考えました。
ってことはそれも悪魔の証明になっちまうな。
なるぜ。愛人との間に子供がいなかったことは証明不能。現にこうして現れた以上いたってことになっちまうわけか。
少し暴力的な理論だね。後宮家の遺産問題でトラブルが生じていることを聞きつけ、何者かがおじい様の大昔の愛人関係を知り、 それを装って遺産問題に食い込もうとしているとかの方が現実的だよ。
現実的ではある。しかし本当に彼女が隠し子で、しかもその上じい様に顧みられなくて孤独に生き復讐に帰ってきたって設定も否定はできねえよな。
復讐？なんだよそれ。
ああ、すまんすまん。男なんだよ。ついつい面白そうな方に脚色しちまうぜ。妙なドラマの見過ぎだな。
Normally, that would have been a light joke, but it had come when a mystery guest calling herself Beatrice, who no one had invited, had marched in on the day of the family conference, the day of the inheritance distribution discussion, which even without the witch was threatening to become a bloodbath. There was no way that Battler's joke would be welcomed with laughter. So it was a big help when Nanjo laughed energetically to calm everyone down.
なるほどなるほど。それはなかなか面白そうですな。そんな筋書きの小説をぜひ読んでみたいものです。
まあ現実にはそんなことはできねえと思う。何しろよ、今この島にはひふみ18人もいるんだぜ。妙なことをすればすぐにでも取り押さえられちまう。それに台風のおかげで島から逃げ出すこともできない。つまりとんでもない事件を起こそうにもどうにもならねえってことさ。
Oh, Battler, how you underestimate.
同感だね。退路の断たれた袋小路で、しかも十分怪しまれているような状況下で、そんな恐ろしい復讐劇なんかとてもできるとは思わないね。
でしょうな。ならば姿など現さずに暗躍しての復讐の方が現実味があるというものです。堂々と姿を現して仇討ちなど時代劇の中でしか考えられませんな。
わからねえぜ。復讐ってのは感情でやるもんだ。理屈じゃねえぜ。それこそ刺し違えてでもなんて考えたら、別に警察も人数も退路がなくても何も怖くはないかもしれねえぜ。
So the guys are thinking a logical point of view, and Jessica's thinking from an emotional point of view.
大丈夫だよ、ジェシカちゃん。僕たちが想像するような物騒なことは何も起きないよ。
Oh no, it'll be much worse than you imagine.
遺産をめぐっておじさんたちがバトルロイヤルってのが物騒なことじゃねえってんならな。
そうだよな。父さんもルドルフおじさんも体格いいし、エヴァおばさんなんか格闘技習ってんでしょ。大丈夫だよね。
Jessica didn't say it, but she had vaguely noticed that her own father opposed all the other siblings regarding the inheritance. They acted like everything was good in front of the children, but when that pretense was lifted away, like it had been at dinner, it would become a tumultuous uproar. It was only natural that Jessica, realizing that, would be frightened her father and mother had gotten into some kind of trouble, and were about to be sacrificed for something terrifying. Well, maybe she's not wrong about being sacrificed.
だよな。ジョージの兄貴の言う通りだぜ。何も起こらねえよ。魔女様の名前を語ろうとも魔法も使えない人間の女が一人で何ができるってんだ。
Wow, that's so... oh my gosh, that's so, like, blatant. A single human woman, all in italics, who can't use magic. Oh, here comes the creepy Maria. Here it comes. It's been a while. The sudden, creepy laugh made all of us jump. And when we realized the strange laugh was coming from Maria, we were shocked again.
そうなんだ。それがバトラの認識なんだね。
何かだよ。気色悪い声で笑うんじゃねえぜ。
バトラはベアトリーチェの存在をとりあえずは認めてる。19人目の客人程度には認めてる。でもそこまでだね。19人目のベアトリーチェが魔女であることは認めてないね。
突然何を言い出すかと思えばそりゃそうだろ。魔女なんているわけがねえ。それを語る人間の女しかありえねえだろうが。
あれ、お おかしいよバトラー。それは悪魔の証明だよ。魔女なんているわけがねえ。でもそれはバトラが魔女に会ったことがないというだけで、魔女の存在を否定することにはならないね。
そうだな。
The more they're talking about the devil's proof, we're talking about rules for the world. The devil's proof's got to be like part of that, right? Like the fact that you can't deny something unless you have absolute proof of it.
確かにそうだ。魔女がいねえを証明することはできない。しかし、証明はできなくても主張はできる。魔女はいねえという俺の主張だ。
どうして魔女はいないなんて証明できないくせに主張できるの？
そんなものはいねえからだよ。
It's a very roundabout logic there.
それで QED？ 何の証拠も根拠もなく証明終了？無知が棚上げする時の典型例。暴力的思考停止だね。
となりゃ答えは一つだぜ、マリア。魔女側の反証しかねえってことだろう。
I guess it's thinking like, yeah, he can't prove witches don't exist, but then she's got to prove that she is a witch.
これまた悪魔の証明だ。連れてくりゃ話は早い。
Except with Valor and me to a degree, with all of that proof from the last episode, him literally being in purgatory with the witch, showing him what she did to kill Hideyoshi and Ava and taking away all of his family and killing them, and he's still like, no, like literally talking to her face to face. He's like, nope, I refuse to believe that you exist.
この場合は、ベアトリーチェと名乗るご婦人が、お星様がキラキラ飛び散るような華麗な魔法をステッキででも披露して、人間には不可能なことをやってみせればいい。
There's all that stuff in italics again. Show us something that's impossible for humans. She literally did show him when she did those, like, she sent those spike things through the door and killed them, and he still refused to believe her.
ほら、お二人とも、落ち着いてくださいな。
Kumasawa noticed the atmosphere between them was getting worse and tried to calm them. It seemed as though Battler quickly realized he was acting immaturely, but Maria's expression didn't loosen. She kept staring at Battler as she laughed creepily.
マリアももうよせよ。機嫌直そうぜ。な。
それが望みなら、ベアトリーチェはきっと見せてくれるよ。人間には不可能なこと。そしたらバトラも信じるんだよね。ベアトリーチェのこと。
おう、そいつを拝ましてくれたら、信じてやろうじゃねえか。
魔女とバトラの議論のチェスだね。チェックメイトされたら、バトラは魔女を信じる。
おお、洒落た例えだぜ。
There's bringing up chess again.
魔女が魔法を見せる。俺のキングにチェックをかける。俺は人間でも、何らかの手段で再現可能だとイチャモンをつけて、キングを逃がす。
Exactly. Even if she shows him, like irrefutable proof, he's still going to be like, let me explain how that is not magic.
それができなきゃチェックメイトってのは、確かにいい例えだ。
バトラ、チェスというのは、相手も自分も同じ動きの駒を持ってる。だから相手の手も読める。でもね、相手の駒がバトラの駒よりさらに不思議な動きができることを、バトラは今想定していない。魔女のはずないからと、ベアトリーチェの動かす駒の動きを自分とどうせ同じだと決めつけている。でもね、悪いけど、バトラのチェスの相手は人間じゃない。魔女なの。人間にはさせない駒の動きができる。バトラは今、そこの認識を間違えているの。バトラは、キリエおばさんのチェス盤思考って好きでしょ？
ああ、相手の立場に立っての思考術ってやつを気に入ってるぜ。
だからダメなの。相手は魔女なのに、バトラはそれを認めない。だから魔女のさせる手を理解できず、チェス盤思考が通じない。相手の認識を間違えている。 チェス盤思考の一番最初の前提が崩れてる。
おお、そう来るかよ。
そなたは魔女とのチェスに勝てぬ。
There's another italic thing. You can't win. I wonder if those are the rules, the italic things? Alright guys, so that will do it for this episode. So the night of the dinner has finally arrived, which means stuff's gonna start happening. I'm so excited. Oddly enough, we never did get the reading of the letters from Maria, and I don't know if Rosa had a chance to read it either, so I'm very interested to see like what was in the letter. Because the thing is that the first chapter, we only had the one letter that Maria was given to read at dinner, but now Rosa has one as well. I wonder if maybe the letter that showed up in Kinzo's study in the first episode, maybe that's the letter Rosa has, or maybe it's a completely different one. Either way, I'm excited. The dinner is over. The night of the killings will begin soon, assuming next episode, and I'm hyped. And of course, I have to mention that badass moment by Shannon was amazing, standing up to Beatrice, but that is probably going to change how things happen. Maybe the way that Shannon dies, when she dies, how she dies, George, when he's going to die. Everything might be changed now, and I'm very interested to see how that's going to happen. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode, and stay tuned for the next one. Until then, bye. Special shoutouts to my top tier patrons: Nana, Sparky, Matt Goldsmith, Derek Nickel, Harry Gazif, iCognito, and Asborn Kennedy.